Hello everybody and welcome along to the IMSA Online Sportscar Championship from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada for week 11 of the championship here. Apologies for the late start of the broadcast. We've just had a few technical problems and a quick switch of producers, but luckily we are here. It's myself, Paul Smith, and Ryan Walker on the broadcast for you for Racebot TV. Hopefully Connery Maddock will be able to join us a little bit later on, but there's the track information. 19 degrees track temperature for you out there, and we will go straight into the grid here with your prototypes. It's Tim Graven, pole position ahead of Christian Pereira in second place. Adrian Fernandez third, with Roy Crump the second in fourth place, and Malik Ndoye rounding out your 5 prototypes. GTLM next, it's Carlos Fenellosa on pole position with Dominic Faber in second place, Alessandro Bico in third ahead of Raf Rezaga. Then Patrick Heinrich, Tim Matz, Mikkel Jensen and Pablo Arujo, Lasse Sorensen, Matthias Schulze, Rasmus Busk with Patrick Richter rounding out 12th place, Richard Heisted and Quentin Valletti with Kelvin van der Linde and Richard Hounslow, Mikkel Metusek, Roman Papian and Raul Martinez rounding out the GTLM grid. Matteo Ugolotti then, GTD pole position ahead of Ariel Bernardi. Josh Thompson third place ahead of Scott Brazier in fourth. Nicolas Veron in fifth with Lawrence Van Oort in sixth place. Gilles Valero in seventh ahead of Dennis Wies in eighth. Ruin Jessens in ninth with Mikkel Kesser-Kurt rounding out the top 10 with Matt Fletcher and Jesus Bermejo 12th place. Harrison Bingham, Rockabaron and Gabriel Cavahagini rounding out your 15 cars. Well, that was a bit of a rush job, but Ryan, we're here, Friday prime time, and we've got, once again, we have got some prototypes, not a big prototype field, but 5 of them out there.
Absolutely, good to see the prototype field out in not large numbers, but good to see a reasonably sized field. And I have to say, Paul, I'm looking forward to this, and yeah, this should be an exciting race.
So here we go then, start of the race. The green flag will be out very shortly indeed. In fact, there goes the green flag. Away we go for 45 minutes of action here on Friday prime time. It's Tim Graven in towards turn number 1, who takes the lead of this one. Looking back to your GTLMs, Carlos Fenellosa is leading that one ahead of Dominic Faber with Alessandro Bico in third place, Rezag in fourth, and then your GTDs, it is Matteo Ugolotti with Ero Benaldi, and then, oh, we've got a spinner actually, Scott Brazier spun around there, trying to get back onto the track. Here we go, replay on the screen then. Is it all on his own with cold tyres? Yep, just carrying too much speed. It's turn number 1 there, right?
Yeah, these GTD cars are notorious on cold tyres.
Big crash. That's Richard Hounslow. Quentin Violetti. We'll try and have a look at this one. See what's happened there, just a little bit of contact, and before you know it, 3 cars into 1. Does not go, careful with the rejoin. Oh, and there was further contact with GTD drivers as well. So big incident further down in your field, but your 2 leaders of Graven and Pereira out at the front, pulling away from the rest of the prototypes. And then your GTLMs, Dominic Faber in second place, right behind Carlos Fenellosa.
Yep, and yeah, I was just saying before, the cold tyres on these GT cars rather take a while, or take a few laps at least to get up to temperature, and some drivers been caught out by that, and hopefully we don't have the same have the same issues as last week with regards to the rejoins when people were just being absolutely silly.
Well, more instance down at turn number 2 and 3. This is Richard Heistad. So there's a spinner there, and then just getting helped around his Heistad. Oh, and it all got a little bit silly there on the exit, getting others involved. Well, I mean, we don't like to see it happen, but unfortunately around this track there's not a lot of places to go if you do have an incident.
Absolutely.
Speaking of incident, oh no, that's my timing screen just playing up a little bit. It was showing Tim Graven down in 3rd place overall. I don't think that's right, so hopefully that'll resolve itself. Oh yeah, it's because Kelvin van der Linde and Roman Papian have both gone to the pits.
And at the front in the prototypes at the moment, it's currently still Tim Graven pulling away, and they managing to slightly build up a gap to 2nd place, but these two guys at the moment have just basically left everyone behind.
They certainly have. Now, handily for Carlos Fenalosa, he has got a prototype between him and Dominic Faber in 2nd place in class. And Dominic Faber coming under pressure from Alessandro Bicker because they're stuck behind a prototype and they can't work their way through. Patrick Heinrich as well involved in this battle as well, looking for position, looking for a podium spot here, and currently having to work his way through. But yeah, these drivers, it is we've not really had a chance to talk about the track, unfortunately. It's a prototype getting involved. That was Adrian Fernandez getting involved in that one, getting to the side of Bicker, Alessandro Bicker, and that's going to move, just give him a little bit of damage for Bicker. But I was mentioning just quickly there, Ryan, this track, no room to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, you're in the wall, and before you know it, you've got a big traffic jam.
Absolutely, and Montreal is a track that you can't really make a mistake around, especially in that final chicane. Otherwise, if you make a mistake or take too much of that left side curb into that chicane, you're just basically on a free ride into the wall of champions.
Certainly are, as they move on through then, as Patrick Henrik then 3rd place ahead of Alessandro Bicker. Change position there then as they come through that final chicane, trying to avoid the wall of champions. Worth mentioning as well, Matteo Ugolotti down in the lead of your GTD class. He has got a couple of GTLM cars between himself and 2nd place. That's Nicolas Varun. So yeah, that's definitely what's happening here, as I believe we've actually got Connery Maddock available here if he's actually well, I can hear Connery, but Connery. Right, so hopefully Connery will be able to join us very shortly indeed. But as we've got Matthias Schultz spun around. What has happened here? Oh, he's got caught up on his Fernandez again that he's got caught up with. And he's in that tricky position there, Ryan, where he wants to get going again and wants to get moving, but he's not got a lot of room to move.
Yeah, he can't seem to. He's trying to reverse, but he doesn't want to reverse too much or too quickly in case he pulls out in front of the oncoming traffic. And it's one of those things. If you spin, you want to try to get going as quickly as possible. But around this track, with it being so tight in the first and middle sector, it's just you can't really do anything. As that prototype is off, the prototype of Fernandez is cramming slightly, and it's a bit of a. If I was him, I would just be calling it a day.
Absolutely. So we're looking at the battle in your GTLM class. It's Patrick Heinrich, Alessandro Bicker and Raf Rezag all battling out. 3rd, 4th and 5th place in your GTLM class. There's about a second between the 3 of them there as they're heading on down towards the the 3rd chicane on the track here. Is 4 chicanes in total around this track. This one you really clatter the curbs, get the car up over the curbs, and that's something that's a feature of this track, isn't it, Ryan? You've really got to be able to use those curbs and to be able to get the car working over them.
Absolutely, and you've got to make sure the car's set up to take the curbs, and around this track it's probably, if you want to try and gain as much time as possible and do a good lap as well, you've just basically got to throw the car right over them as well. But you can't really take too much, otherwise it just unsettles the car, and you get unsettled, and especially through this final chicane as well. You can throw the car over it, but you've got to get it precise.
As we head on through another lap, it's Tim Graven who's leading this one overall in the prototypes. 1.6 seconds ahead of Christian Pereira. We're keeping an eye on this battle because Bico is actually becoming more into the battle with Raf Rezag behind. So that's 4th and 5th place here. Mikkel Jensen and Lasse Sorensen are battling with Rasmus Busk as well. Just behind them, there's the 3 of them, and they've actually got Pablo Aruja not that far behind them as well. So 3 Ferraris and a Ford, and it makes a difference here this season, Ryan, to not see just a field of Fords, instead seeing a field of Ferraris. I think that just goes to show how good this car is up over the curbs.
Absolutely, as we just see right now, some of them going right over the curbs, and the cars are so stable as well. It doesn't seem to be moving around from what I can see. And yeah, in the background a Ford as well. So, but it seems to be the Ferrari this season so far seems to be the preferred choice. But on the other hand, it's still good to see some variety as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The racing round here is all about that slipstream, especially down this back straight. Can you make that slipstream work? Darting out to the right there, that was Mikkel Jensen. No move on coming. Mikkel Jensen has got a bit of damage on the front of his car. The front left, he appears to have a little bit of damage on the wheel arch. So he is going to be feeling the effects of that slightly down the back straight there, and it will be really affecting him top speed wise, and not ideal around this track, which is such a high speed track. It's all about the high speeds, but then the slow, big braking zones into slow corners. That's the challenges around here. But yeah, this battle still ongoing here. As you lead for GTD is Matteo Ugolotti, and he is currently about 2.5 seconds ahead of 2nd place in GTD, which is Nicholas Varone, with Gilles Valera in 3rd place in GTD. So this is the exciting battle. What's going to happen here? Jensen, oh, contact! Big contact! Busk headed across almost heading down the escape road there. Huge incident. We'll get another look at this one, Ryan, but that is just the smallest of contacts, and around he goes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Jensen was trying to do there. Maybe he just might have just misjudged his braking. And but Jensen, I thought he would have pulled out much earlier, just to try and get the cut back on the edge of the hairpin rather. But yeah, unfortunately that incident ended up in contact, and I have to say, if I was in charge of race control, I would be putting the blame firmly on Jensen.
Lasse Sorensen has also headed onto pit road as well. To be fair to Jensen, I think it is just a mistake of just not expecting him to brake so early there, and that's caused him to drop back to the pits for Busk. But Sorensen as well, another driver in that who is out as well. So big drama there in your GTLM, and that's had big consequences there further down your field. So a little bit of a reset then of your field. Now, one thing I have noticed in your GTD is that Josh Thompson is down in 9th place. He's been struggling a little bit for pace, and he's fallen down the order. Obviously got involved in some incidents on the opening of the race, but there's these two as well. Harrison Bingham and Lawrence Van Oort battling it out for 6th and 7th place in your GTD into the second of the chicanes. No position change happening just yet. Those two battling it out with a very broken Ariel Bernardi right behind them, right?
Yep, and Bernardi, even though he's got slight wing damage, he's actually catching these guys because these guys are just scrapping on and settles, and this is allowing Bernardi to catch up to them. But also in the background, you've got, like you mentioned, Josh Thompson. He's also got the slight damage as well, but it doesn't seem to be slowing him down. Yeah,
you see the Williams Esports driver newly promoted to the Williams Esports team is Josh, so congratulations to him. But as you can see, considerable damage to that car. He will be affected top speed wise down the straights here. Richard Highstead, what has happened to him? He's taken a tour back to the pits. Let's have a look on the replay then. Into turn number 1, through the left, into the right, up over the curb, get on the power. Everything's fine, then just pulls over. Obviously not able to continue with the damage they had to the car there.
Yep, he might have just decided that if he was losing too much time, it's probably not worth continuing for the rest of the race, and just decide to pull over and escape and possibly just call it a day.
Well, there we go then. Changes all round, instant filled opening as Bingham falling down the order. Bernardi making his way past. Let's get a replay of that. On board with Bernardi then. Through the right hand up onto the brakes. Very late braking effort there from Bernardi. That's brave. Throwing it down the inside, and luckily for him, the driver of Bingham was aware to that, noticed it coming, and decided, you know what, let's just get out the way. Yeah,
that was a fair play to Bernardi. He absolutely just sent it up the inside, and yeah, luckily Bingham rather seen him and left just enough room for two of them to make it through the corner. But back up in the GTLM class, we've currently got this battle between Jensen and Araujo, battling for P6 at the moment. Yep, they are through the first chicane, and Jensen coming under pressure then from Araujo into the third chicane, then through the right and the left, down towards the hairpin once again. These two battling 6th and 7th. There's a battle in front of them as well between Raf Rezag and Alessandro Bicco. We'll keep an eye on this one because the Ford is right up behind here. Good exit through the hairpin, down the back straight away. Can he get the draft? Can he make that draft work? The Ford has been the faster car all the way through the season, and that's been the choice of many of the drivers. But here today, the Ferrari is the car of choice in GTLM through the final chicane, and no changes happening just yet, but they are getting Matt's catching up behind them as well, so he's getting involved in this battle here, Ryan. Very shortly this could be a 3-car train. Yeah, Tim just seems to be, he's just been sitting back there at the moment just watching these guys scrapping, and if these two guys get caught with each other, Tim could just go by them and pick up a couple of positions. But at the moment, it's maybe not a bad place for Tim to be at the moment as well. He could just sit in that slipstream and, like, I know we keep talking about it, but save fuel. Well, as the swap for 6th place in GTD happens, I'm delighted to say that after fighting off many technical problems, welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Connery Maddock. Connery, I mean, it's been chaotic at the start here, incident filled. We're missing 7 drivers from this field now. We started with 39 drivers, we're down to 32.
it's going to be a race of attrition, is this one?
Yeah, it is, and I'm already seeing damaged cars out there. Audi just passing the camera right there. Has been in the wars. Look at this side by side though between the GTLM Ferrari and the Ford. Oh, they both hit the barrier. They get into a big tangle. Pablo Araujo involved in that with, I don't see the number of that Ferrari, but oh my word, that was a bit of a squeeze and too much of a squeeze, I have to argue.
Yeah, that was that was. I think Jensen could have left a bit more room there, but yeah, that was just an unfortunate incident between those two guys. And again, I have to say Jensen was just slightly at fault for that one. He could have left more room, but as Paolo rejoins, I thought he was going to pull back out on one of in front of the other cars just flying by there. But unfortunately, that's ended up in contact, and both of them possibly have hampered the race.
So down towards pit lane they have to go. That was a massive incident down the back straight here at Montreal. But there are still battles out there on circuit, still in the GTLM class as well. Here's Alessandro Rico versus Raf Rezag, both in the Ferraris here, on the way down into the hairpin. One of the big overtaking opportunities here. You can go for the absolute send down into there, but that doesn't mean the move is going to be complete if you do go for it. Cutback opportunity, obviously, off the corner. So keep an eye on that one throughout this race. So Rezag's just content to sit behind and slipstream off of his fellow Ferrari. Look at the overspeed into the final chicane. Around the outside he looks, but does not commit just yet, although that car ahead of Rico going very shallow into the chicane. Doesn't look like he's lost a lot of speed off, though, and he's going to be able to keep the position at least until the braking zone of turn 1. Lunge opportunity, but from a couple of car lengths back, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it would be silly to make a lunge into turn 1 from that far back and possibly risk ruining both the races, but at the moment, that's... apart from that, I can't really see any other battles, or yeah, it's spread out a little bit.
Yeah, it does seem to have done so. Of course, we did have a handful of Daytona Prototype start this race, 5 of them to be exact, but 2 of them unfortunately out of this race as it stands. But it is Tim Graven leading them around overall, as he has done so many times throughout this season. He holds 2.6 second advantage over Christian Pereira. But this battle in GTLMs looking really close between these two at the moment still. Biko and Rezag there. I say Rico, it's actually in fact Biko, but on Rezag's nose on the way into the hairpin. Then you can just see how close he gets up to that rear end of the Ferrari ahead of him. He had a slight look into the final chicane last time around, but is there going to be more commitment this time around? That's the question for the Frenchman. Is he going to go inside, outside? Nope, none of those. Just going to lift off. So just biding his time for now, and that's quite understandable considering we still have 25 minutes left in the race.
And also with these long straights as well, especially the back straight, if you're stuck behind another car but you can't get by, you can still use that slipstream to your advantage. You can just sit behind in the slipstream, save fuel, and so with regards to strategy, you can do that. But further back in the GTD class, we've got the battle for 7th place going on between Josh Thompson and Lawrence Van Oort as well. And even though Josh has got damage, he still seems to be reasonably putting in consistent times.
I mean, the rear end of that Audi has seen better days, but somehow able to keep itself at least in contention here is going to be the generous term that I'll use. But Lawrence Van Oort, he's in the Audi as well, on the way into the final chicane. And he has a little bit of damage to his front end as well. That bodywork not as it left the factory floor. That's probably an understatement, but into the pits then comes Tim Graven from the overall race lead. Pereira is also in from P2 as well. You can see those 2 Daytona Prototypes, pit lane speed limit all the way down here, past a couple of wrecked Ferraris there. Well, a Ford and a Ferrari. Of course, we did see that incident between the 2 big motorsports rivals, but both Daytona Prototypes into the pit boxes then. just for their fuel only until the end of this race. Malik Doyer, though, did stay out, so he'll inherit the overall race lead for now.
Yep, and then Doyer starts the pit, so when the pit stops cycle, he should be when he comes out the pits, he should be in probably P3 or P4. But yeah, all the mayhem seems to have died out a little bit. So yeah, it's not been the most exciting race so far, but it's still basically provided some action at times.
I mean, you could have just not said that because I missed the first half of it due to battling technical gremlins. So I wouldn't have known, and we've seen one big wreck already. We've seen a potential close battle, so I thought it was going pretty well so far, but you just had to go and ruin it, Ryan. That's unfortunate. But within a second between these two, Violate and Richter, both the Ferraris heading their way through, and that's a lot of damage to the front end of that number 18 Ferrari, that white one, the primarily white one versus the white and black one at the front of that battle. Violate is really doing well to keep that car on the circuit, I think.
Indeed, and yeah, even though he's got some slight wing damage and basically most of the car's damage, you could say, he's actually still doing pretty well to keep that car going. And as the magic yellow pen pops up on the screen,
you might as well circle the entire car there, Paul. I think that's probably the better bet, because you can see the bodywork below the rear spoiler is also all torn up. The front end of that car has been in the wars as well. Malik Doyer, though, down on towards the pit lane. Pit exit, just cycling in behind one of the GTLM cars, I believe. But this little side-by-side battle between the two GTLM Ferraris. Into the chicane they go, but they just remain as they were coming off the corner. Violate trying to defend from Richter, but how much can Violate defend considering his car being completely and utterly wrecked? He is able to defend the move into turn one, though. I would have thought that Richter would be able to get by at least relatively easily, considering how beat up that car is.
Yeah, and that damage, it doesn't seem to be affecting him on a straight line either, by as much as I thought it would. And I thought Richter would have sent it up the inside into turn one, but maybe he just doesn't feel confident under braking. As a Valiati, contact.
Oh, they both hit the barrier through the end of the first sector. There's a car coming through as well, which will be able to avoid them, but as if that car wasn't beat up already, is going to be even more Ferrari bodywork strewn across the streets of Montreal. As there we go, Richter just into the back there, sends the other Ferrari and himself into the concrete wall on the outside there. Richter's able to keep going, but you can see the steering alignment is not as it once was. He's having to steer quite a bit to the left to keep it in a straight line.
Yep, and Valiati's car is so badly beaten up now, you may as well take it back to the crosser in Italy.
Yeah, they'll probably write it off. There's no repairing that. But you can see he'll probably dive on towards pit lane. No, he's going to stay out there. So no meatball flag, maybe. I mean, he does have 3 laps to serve a meatball flag, but still staying out there for the moment. Richter keeping on going. Of course, in these cars, the engine isn't in the front, so you're not going to get massive engine damage from a front end impact. But there's Violate. You stand on towards the pit lane. What you do have, though, of course, are the radiators at the front of the car, which can then cause the engine to overheat if they're damaged. So it's sometimes worth just bringing that car in to get a little bit of damage repaired at least. But Nicholas Varone, though, in from P3 in GTDs there. That Audi has gone in and gets its one and only pit stop service before the end of this race. But for P5, though, in GTDs as well. Josh Thompson, Lawrence Van Aerts, these guys have been close for a while now, and Aerts still yet to find a way through.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem to be able to get out, make his way around Josh as Lawrence runs a little bit wide and misses the apex by a mile, but yeah, loses a bit of the ground to Josh now, and that's gave Josh a bit of breathing space as well.
Yeah, it has. It really has. There's the number 22 Audi. cycling its way around. There's Van Aert. He's lost a little bit of ground actually to that Williams Sportscar ahead. So Josh Thompson trying to extend the gap at this stage despite the rear end damage that he has to his car. There's Matteo Ugolotti, race leader in GTDs for the moment. And, well, one of the GTLM Porsches trying to work its way by at the moment. But, well, that's Audi will even keep the position and get it down on towards pit lane as well. So Ugolotti from the race lead in GTDs comes on towards the safety of pit lane. There are a couple of other cars also in as well. You got Valero in the background as well, having come down in. We are waiting for Alexa Bernardi. Bernardi is actually in. Just as I say that, Josh Thompson, Van Aert, they all decide to come in. So it's a GTD pit party here, Ryan.
Yep, and yeah, everyone, once the leader in GTD came into the pits, everyone decided to come in as well and have a bit of a gathering and a bit of a pit party, like you mentioned. And Ugolotti is leaving the pits now, and it looks like he's going to retain the GTD lead. So yeah, Ugolotti's been pretty much the form man at the moment this season, or pretty much the form man in GTD most of this season.
Yeah, he really has. And now we have a look further down the field in, well, you've got GTLM pit stops happening at the same time as this one as well. So Fenalosa in, you've also got Patrick Henreich is also in GTLM. So it looks like the GTD and the GTLM pit stops kind of just coinciding with each other in this instance. You can understand that fact due to these drivers wanting to run those fuel tanks basically dry with the limited fuel that they have, and getting back out there. Exits sometimes a bit tricky, but not as awkward as the entry on towards pit lane. That's sort of, you got cars braking for the chicane on pit entry, and if you're coming down towards the pit lane, your braking point is actually later than the car's taking the final chicane, so it can get a bit awkward, maybe with some miscommunication.
Yeah, it's an easy mistake to make around Montreal, especially if someone is trying to slow down for the chicane, but someone is going really quickly to not lose too much time in the pit entry, and it just results in a silly incident. That it's an easy thing to do around here. But back in the prototypes as well, we've got this battle for second place between Pereira and Doya as well, and yeah, Pereira managed to get round one of the GTD cars, but Doya has to hang back.
That he does. So Doya able to file his way through. Yeah, that was Ugolotti in the Audi, race leader in GTDs, as you can see at the very top of your screen. But more pit stops happening though. There's the leader in GTLM, Dominic Farber is in. So is Alessandro Bico. He also heads his way on towards the safety of pit lane. But Farber off and away, 11 seconds stationary on the pit lane there. And he'll be able to, I believe, cycle to the very front of the field. There is Fenalosa. So Fenalosa wasn't close enough to be able to get the jump in the pit stops, and Farber, he maintained his around about 4-second gap.
Yep, and Dominic Farber, I've not seen too much of him recently. I don't know if he's still involved in any competitive league stuff, but he's a name I've watched in the past, and a really quick driver, and at the moment he's proven that again, leading the GTLM class, and kind of all on his own but at the moment.
He really is, and to have such an advantage with just under 15 minutes left remaining, it's a pretty comfortable spot for him to be in, all things considered. Fenalosa, a very, very quick driver indeed, but not able to keep pace with Farber. But Farber is coming up on a little bit of GTD traffic, so that might slow him up somewhat, and if Fenalosa can deal with it a bit better, then maybe he can make some ground up. And speaking of GTD traffic, it's affecting battles further down the GTLM pack as well, because look at this, between Rezag and Pico, they're having to deal with a bunch of GTD Audis in their way, so that's kind of disrupted that battle a little bit. It's up to a second now as Pico finally heads his way by eventually on that Audi. But of course, you know, if you're one of these Audis, if you're one of these GTD cars, you don't have to move heaven and earth to let a GTLM through.
Absolutely not, and it's a general rule of multi-class racing. It's the faster class cars' responsibility to get by the slower class cars in a safe manner, but it's kind of difficult as well for these GTLM cars to get by the GTD cars on the straight, just because they're closely or evenly matched in a straight line. That the only chance you can get by them is under braking, but most of the time, if someone's in a slower class car and they're similar in straight line speed, that's probably most of the time you will see them just lifting off a little bit just to let them by.
Sometimes you will see that. Van Aert and Thompson, still the same situation as to when we last seen it, around about 5-6 tenths of a second. But of course, these guys in the pit stop phase, it was able to get a little bit of a jump. You can see him ahead now, but Thompson, even before those pit stops, he was still able to keep pace. So if he's just able to hang on to the back of Van Aert here, he might still have a chance of hauling himself back up into P7, but it's going to be a big, big ask.
And we all know how quick Josh Thompson can be, and when he wants to, he can put the hammer down and just close the gap down in no time. But with that damage, I think it might be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it will be. He's going to be really hurting in a straight line, especially with that bodywork damage, the aero damage. But again, as long as he has the slipstream, then that effect will be negated somewhat, and you can use Van Aert to pull him around the racetrack for the lack of a better term. But look at this though, Matt Montoya, Christian Pereira, very close, and in fact, the pass might happen here into the hairpin. Doya around the outside. Not going to go deep enough there, but he's going to go for the cutback move. Can he get the speed off the corner? Goes very, very wide. Has to avoid the concrete wall on the outside there, but he can still sit inside the slipstream of Pereira here and try to challenge for that second step on the Daytona Prototype podium. Looks like side by side in towards the braking zone for the chicane. They almost touch there into the corner, and whoa, Doya having to avoid the wall of champions. Wow, that got a little bit close.
A little bit too close, and I'm not sure what Doya was doing. He was trying to go 2x2 through the chicane, but you can't really do that because it's only a one-line corner.
Yeah, well, somehow we fit two Daytona prototypes through that. It was so close to touching, and the compromise line from Doya means that he has a bit of an interesting experience with the exit of the final chicane, and able to avoid that wall on the outside that has claimed so many famous victims. But now, with 10.5 minutes left remaining, this is going to be, I think, one of the main features for the end of this race, because I'm having a look down the timing screens. There are not that many close battles for positions anywhere near the podium. Of course, you see this battle for P11, 12, and 13 for the GTDs. Rocco Barone involved in this one for that VRS Commander SimSport team. Scott Brazier all over the back of him, and the rear end of that Audi again hasn't it looks like it's been in a bar fight and it's got its face punched in. yeah, absolutely. And I think most of the cars I've seen in the GTLM or GTD class, some of the cars just look really beaten up, and what Joe is pretty much notorious for that. Just because they're so close to the pack can be. Some drivers will just get caught up in silly incidents, or just slight bumps, or some slight bumping and rubbing rather. But for this race anyway, there's nothing been, apart from the one or two major incidents. I think there's only been little bits of contact. Yeah, there has been, but that trio of Audis into the hairpin. And so Brazier just getting very close to the back of Barone through the middle of the hairpin. So seemingly able to carry a little bit more mid-corner speed than that damaged Coanda car is able to. but will it net him an opportunity into the chicane? He's certainly looking for it. He does decide to send it down the inside. Has he outbroke himself though? Nope. He's able to get it slowed down for the corner. Look at the run off the chicane though that Barone's been able to get. Now we're absolutely neck and neck across the start-finish line with 8 minutes 40 seconds left remaining. Barone back down the inside to wrestle this position back away from Brazier, but Brazier with the change of direction now has the inside towards the end of the final sector, and he is able to gain the position over Barone, but Barone had a very, very good shot at trying to take that one back.
Yeah, absolutely. He got Brazier just kind of slowed himself up on the entry to the chicane just because he wasn't on the optimal line. But he slowed himself up. That gave Barone a chance to get the run and try and make a move into turn one, but turn one and turn two rather. But Brazier held his own, and he was like a feisty Rottweiler that just won't back down.
Josh Thompson, we're riding on board with him on the Williams eSports Audi as he is keeping tabs on Laurens van Oort, even though those positions did swap around in the pit stops. Thompson still able to keep pace with his competitors, and that's what we like to see. It gifts him the opportunity. He's just using the slipstream to sort of cancel out the damage deficit that he has on his car. Lots of aerodynamic damage on that Williams eSports Audi, and if it was running in clear air on its own, then it'll be having a bit of a worse time. But since it does have a drafting buddy ahead of it, it's continuing to be competitive.
And in a straight line, Josh, he can't make a move. It's like you say, Colin. Really, the only reason he's keeping up with Lawrence is because he's got the slipstream, but. Yeah, apart if he didn't have that, he would just fall back from him. I mean, just be losing too much time. But back up in the prototypes, they've still got this battle for second place going on between Pereira and Doy, and Doy he's not managed to make the move, and Pereira, fair play to him, is putting up a great defensive drive.
0.3 of a second between these two Daytona Prototype drivers. Mark Doyer, he's already had a look in this battle. Just a couple of laps ago, they got very close indeed into the final chicane, but Pereira was able to hold on to it. But Doyer is continuing to apply the pressure in the latter stages of this race. We only have a handful of laps to go here with 6 minutes remaining, so good couple of opportunities still for Doyer to be able to capitalize, and he might be able to capitalize on that slide that Pereira had coming through the sweeper. And now 0.2 of a second, not going to be enough into the braking zone for the next right-left. But Doyer, you can see the pressure is certainly starting to tell now.
Yep, and Doyer's just trying everything to get by him, and Pereira is yeah, I think the pressure's getting to him. He's just getting slightly rattled, judging by some of the slides he's been getting. And Doyer, it looks like he's got a great run in the back straight, but it's just a question if he can get the move done. And he's not closing in with the slipstream as quickly as I thought he would.
Yeah, that's the thing. And well, Ryan, you're going to have to take this one, since my technical gremlins seemingly have not, well, hidden away.
But okie dokie, as Pereira and Doyer are still battling away in the prototypes, but at the moment they're still, Doyer can't seem to be able to do anything about it. But yeah, I have to say, Paul, it's not been the most exciting race, but it's still had its moments.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it'd be a good idea if Ryan could hear me. There we go, I've sorted that one out. Yeah, so these two, it's a bit like one of those races where they pass the baton, the relay race. But anyway, these two are battling it out. Look at this, and Doy trying to go to the outside, not going to make this one work for the time being, and everything he tries just doesn't seem to work out for him. And this is, as mentioned by Connery and yourself, really good defensive driving by Pereira. Has to just hit his marks, get the apex right, and around he goes. carries on in front, and Ndoye right now just cannot get close enough to be able to make that move stick, especially down into the chicane. He's going to get closer and closer, but not close enough to make a move this time around. Less than 4 minutes remaining then in this race, and these two drivers, this is the closest battle out on track. There is Josh Thompson still battling with Laurens Van Aert, and in fact I'm going to look to this battle because they have actually got Matt Fletcher right in front of them as well, Ryan. So it's a 3-car battle now for 6th place.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised to see Fletcher falling back into the clutches of these guys, but I don't know if he thinks he's maybe underfueled slightly, but yeah, these 3 guys behind him have caught him up massively, and Josh Thompson is yeah, thought they kind of fallen back behind this pack as well, rather, as I try and get my words right. But yeah, Josh Thompson, like we mentioned before, he's just lost that slipstream slightly, and he's fallen back, unfortunately.
Alessandro Bicco, by the way, you see making his way through, and that is putting a lap on these drivers. Unfortunately, it does separate these drivers apart a little bit. We're going to go back to the battle in your prototypes as well, so we're going to be switching between these two battles then out on track. You've got the battle for 2nd place overall in your prototypes. It is Christian Pereira versus Malik Ndoye. And then you've got the battle for 6th place in your GTD category between Matt Fletcher, Laurens Van Aert, and also Josh Thompson as well. So 2 battles out there on track, taking us into the final 2 minutes. So we should have about 2 laps remaining in this race, as those two, for the time being, stay as they are. Meanwhile, here comes Josh Thompson trying to make the move, and right at that point, we just lose him. There he is, he's back. Round the outside, and he's got ahead of Van Aert. He's made hard work of that, but he's now through. But he's going to be under serious pressure here from Van Aert, and that's allowing Fletcher to pull away.
Absolutely, and the downside for Josh is, though, with that damage, he might be a sitting duck in a straight line. That we'll need to wait and see. But that was a great move by Josh Thompson around the outside, and fair play to Josh. It was big cojones.
As they head on down into the final chicane, you can see the speed effect of the damage compared to a relatively clean car. The 22 car does have a little bit of left side damage, but not able to make it past. Meanwhile, battle in your prototypes, they are ongoing still. It is still Pereira ahead of Ndoye, but Ndoye's got a great run here down the back straightaway, heading towards the final chicane. Pereira squeezing a little bit too much. There's contact between the two of them. Away they go. Pereira's come off worse, and Ndoye has had to take a bit of a skip across the chicane there. But I think that was a little bit too much that time, Ryan. I think Pereira coming across too far.
Yeah, I think Pereira just basically started squeezing. He kept moving, and he just didn't leave Ndoye any room at all, and that was just a bit of silly driving from Pereira.
Yeah, we saw him squeezing earlier on when Ndoye was trying to take the wide line earlier on in the battle, and I thought that was pushing it a little bit, but that was too far and not giving racing room to the competitor. The thing is, he could have just kept it out there and he would have been fine. He would have had the inside for the chicane. There's a battle for 2nd place in GTD that comes across the line. Now we are on the final lap, and where is Tim Graven? He's actually coming towards the end of that lap, so we'll see him across the line here. We've not really mentioned him that much on this broadcast at all, but it is going to be Tim Graven then through the final chicane for the final time. He'll see the checkered flag, he's weaving, he knows he's won this one, and across the line to take the win in your prototype class. Well done to him. Dominic Farber, he's coming towards the end of his race, but he's still got a little while to go yet. It's that battle in GTD that's still ongoing for second place. Varun, Valero and Bernardi. So Ariel Bernardi not had a good second half of the race, dropping down to 4th place in this race. So he won't be happy with that at all as they head into the hairpin. Dominic Farber, he's heading down the back straightaway right now. He's got the leading GTD car of Matteo Ugolotti behind him. He was weaving down the back straight, but here he comes then, Dominic Farber, to take the win in your GTLM category. What a win for him, and we'll look back to Matteo Ugolotti, who takes the win in your GTD category. At the final corner then is going to be Nicholas Varone, who takes second place, and Gilles Valero rounds out your top 3. Josh Thompson almost side by side with Mark Fletcher. Little bit of contact between the two of them. Fletcher's in the wall. Josh Thompson carries on. Fletcher will be absolutely livid about that one. We'll try and get you a replay of that. But Thompson just getting into the back. Oh, absolute nightmare. Just the slightest of contact, and there goes Fletcher. Off he goes. And it's Van Aert who rounds out your GTDs as well. But Ryan, that was chaotic at times, but the second half of the race, pretty good race.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed that, and the closing stages were really exciting. And that incident with Doyle and Pereira was a bit, Pereira was just too aggressive in his defending, and in that incident with Thompson and Fletcher, I think if I was Thompson, I would have backed off and allowed Fletcher to regain the position.
Well, here we go then with here we go. Oh, just bear with us one moment. Having a few technical problems. Now my commentators can't hear me. Okay, that should be fixed now. So let's give you the race result. It's been a bit of a show here today. Let's just say that behind the scenes with technical issues, but we can give you the results. There they are. Race winner, overall race winner and winner of the prototype class is Tim Gravens. 11.5 seconds, call it, ahead of Malik Ndoye, who we saw have that incident with Christian Pereira, who finishes 3rd. 2 drivers did not finish. Ray Crum for 2nd and Adrian Fernandez. In your GTLMs, it is Dominic Farber who wins that one, 4.3 seconds ahead of Carlos Fenolosa, with Patrick Heinrich rounded out the top 3. Raf Rezag in 4th place, with Timus Matska in 5th. Alessandro Bico rounds out your top 6 and the drivers on the lead lap. Mikhail Matusek in 7th, with Richard Hansler 8th. Patrick Richter in 9th, ahead of Raul Martinez in 10th place. Matthias Schultz 11th, with Quentin Villante in 12th. Mikael Jensen and Pablo Arajo also did not finish, with Richard Heisted, Ramos Busk, Lasse Sorensen, Kelvin van der Linde out on lap 1, and Roman Papian as well. Then in your GTDs, it's Matteo Ugolotti who wins that one by 10.8 seconds ahead of Nicholas Varone. Gilles Valero in 3rd place ahead of Ariel Bernardi, with Mikkel Kesserkart in 5th place, just a few seconds ahead of Josh Thompson, who we saw have that incident in the last chicane. Lawrence Van Aert, Harris Bingham was able to get ahead of Mark Fletcher as well, so from 6th down to 9th place for Fletcher. Jesus Bermejo rounds up the top 10. Dennis Weiss, Scott Brazier, Rocco Barone 13th, and then Rune Janssen and Gabriel Cavahani, both of those did not finish. Well, we got there in the end, and Connery, we're going in towards the final week of Friday prime time for this season. This has flown by us this season. And what's been your thoughts of the season overall?
Well, I think we have seen some absolutely fantastic races and some fantastic battling. Of course, you had some what I would call quote-unquote filler races where they perhaps weren't as exciting as some others. But like every other season, you can't have every single race be an absolute banger. But I think here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the race was a banger for a different definition. I think there were lots of bits of contact, lots of wrecks, and coming into Belle Isle next week, then it might be a precursor to what we'll see there. But I'll hope for the best at Belle Isle. But that's going to be a very, very interesting race because it's not often you get to go multi-class racing at a street circuit in iRacing. It just doesn't happen that often, and we have Belle Isle as the season finale, so there's not a lot of room for error there, let me tell you that.
And, Ryan, just looking back at this season then, personally for myself, Watkins Glen, all the way back on the 10th of April, was one of my favourite races of the season. I don't know about yourself, but a classic IMSA circuit, and it was a classic race that we had there. But we've seen a number of really good races throughout the season.
Absolutely, and I think, talking about races or highlights of the season, my favourite race this season in the series was probably at Road Atlanta. Just after the pit stops, it all kicked off, and Tim Grieven at one point was leading the race, but ended up falling back, but put on a stellar performance to come back and win the race on the last lap.
Yeah, really, really did. And of course, we are coming towards the end of the season. In fact, like I said last week, next week, will be the 12th and final round of this official season. And of course, during week 13, which is the update week here in iRacing, we will have to deliberate as to which series is going to be featured here on Friday nights. I'm not sure whether that's going to be a public vote or whether we'll get to decide which new series gets broadcasted, but you'll definitely be made aware of it on the Race Sport TV social media in case there is a public vote for the series that we get to broadcast next season. But we still have one more round to go of this one. Same time, same place next week here in the IMSA Online Sportscar Championship. I've been Conor Maddock. That's been Ryan Walker. Thank you very much to Paul Smith for joining and saving my butt throughout that broadcast with all the technical issues I had. Thanks to Istvan Balor for providing us our track TV cameras. But don't forget, the racing is not done here on Race Sport or on iRacing for this weekend, because you have World Championship action tomorrow. The Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup gets itself into round number 3. This time at Donington Park. That goes green at 1:30 p.m. GMT, but if you can tune in a little bit earlier, then you can catch the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge at 12:45 p.m. GMT. Myself and Paul will be taking you through that one, which has been a pretty interesting series so far, and is a good little precursor to what you'll see in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, with Martin Haven and Paul Smith bringing you the commentary for that. But with that, it's time to wrap up here. Thank you guys very much for watching, and get to see you next week, because Belle Isle will certainly be a very interesting affair. Goodbye.